Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Wadash, and I want to say Shalom to Yaakov Nakwat out there doing this truth diligently, coming at you once again with another lesson. And as you can see on the screen, we're going to be talking about these shoes here. I was scrolling on, I believe it was Threads, all right, which is the Instagram adjacent platform. It's kind of like Twitter, all right, or X as it's called now. And usually it's just a bunch of, people bitching and moaning and, having a whole bunch of issues with each other. But this showed up, and people were still complaining about it. There's a whole bunch of fighting in the comments like there is with everything on Threads. But I saw it and I said I want to make a lesson on it because these are basically just idol worship shoes. All right, now you can see it. It's got this white, all right, devil effigy. All right, they're Cesare Borgia or Borgia. All right, and it says first look at new airbrushed quote unquote crucifix vans by Miles Franklin. Now I looked up Miles Franklin. I couldn't really find anything about him, right? But you can see these are the shoes here. They're supposed to look like white Jesus, all right, with the nails. In this case, it's spikes, all right, and a design choice. It's spikes through the feet, right? And it's just some idol worship shoes, all right. Not only is it disrespectful, all right, mind you, because allegedly, you can see right here, it says, you can see the comments. It says, got a random picture of white feet on a shoe. LOL. Jesus is black. All right, his name's Yahushua. It's not Jesus. Jesus is a false translation. It's not really even a false translation. It's just a false name in general. All right, that means dirty earth. All right, and it's Greek. Okay, and the son was not Greek. All right, was not Greek, is not Greek, has not been Greek, will not be Greek. All right, he is Hebrew. Okay, and Yahushua is a Hebrew name. Jesus is not. Another way that you can refute the name Jesus is that the letter J didn't even exist until the early mid 1500s. Okay, 1526, I believe, right around there. 1525, 1523, 1526, somewhere around that line, in the 20s, 1520 era. And before that in the Bible, in the 1611, it didn't say Jesus, it said Iesus. All right, instead of a J, it was an I, Iesus. As a matter of fact, I can go and prove that. Scriptures say, prove all things. Let's go and show you that real quick. Prove all things. Okay, that's 1 Thessalonians 5:21 right here. It says, prove all things, hold fast that which is good. So what are we going to do? We're going to go and we're going to prove that thing. So this is the regular Bible, right? This is the regular King James version, the modern one. So if I type in Jesus, you're going to see a whole bunch of scriptures come up, right? But if I go to the 1611, and what is the 1611? All right, first of all, you can see right here, it says the 1611 is the originally published King James Version text from 1611 AD using archaic English. Okay, so this is the originally published King James Version. Okay, and that's why, already you see, look at how Jew is spelt. All right, and Christians love this scripture. They love quoting Galatians 3 and 28 incorrectly. See, it says there is neither Jew or Greek. All right, yeah, you don't realize that's talking about Israelite foreigners and Gentiles. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. But you can see how Jew is spelt here. It's I-E-W-E. All right, and Greek has an E on it. All right, so it's a little bit different. And I really don't even have to go and search it up. Call Yahweh Shai, because look, there it is, Iesus. Okay, Iesus. It doesn't say Jesus. Okay, it says Iesus. Okay, so I don't even have to look it up. Matter of fact, if I go and look up Jesus, there won't be not one occurrence. Okay, but if I look up Iesus, all right, there's plenty for Iesus. Okay, so there you go. But you can see Jesus in the Bible, no direct matches. All right, because it's not in the 1611. Okay, the name is Yahushua, all right, and that's from a Paleo-Hebrew alphabet, all right? That's how you get that name. If his name's in Paleo-Hebrew, you have to use a Paleo-Hebrew alphabet, all right, as well as understand the linguistics and the, phonetical structure of Paleo-Hebrew, or you'll get it wrong, because you can use Paleo-Hebrew and try to get the name and try to figure out what the name is, whether it be Jesus or Yahushai or whatever you're trying to, put it as. And if you don't do it correctly, you can end up with Yahushua, all right, or Yahweh. All right, well, that Yahweh is really incorrect translation, the Tetragrammaton, the Father's name. Okay, and that's using the Paleo-Hebrew. But if you don't do it correctly, if you're not making sure it's phonetically correct, all right, what are phonetics?
Phonetics.
The study and classification of speech sounds. Okay, phonetics is a branch of linguistics that studies how humans produce and perceive sound, or in the case of sign language, the equivalent aspects of sign. Linguists who specialize in studying the physical properties of speech are phonetians, or phonetians, right? How do you spell? Let's see.
Phonetician.
Phonetician. All right, phonetician. So phonetics, how you pronounce or perceive sounds. So if you're not pronouncing them or perceiving them wrong, all right, you can end up, for example, we can go and we'll open it here. Give me an example of how an English name, it wants it capitalized, English name or word can end up as wrong if it's not phonetically correct. All right, it says here's a few real-world style examples that show how non-phonetic English spelling can lead to a word or name being said wrong, sometimes permanently. Colonel, right? But some people say colonel, all right? Colonel, right? It's not correct. It's colonel, right? Or Worcestershire, all right? Pronounced Worcester. No, I've talked to English people. It's Worcestershire. All right, they got that one wrong. Worcester. All right, it's actually Worcestershire. All right, watch. See, they say Worcester or Worcester. All right, Worcester, Worcestershire. All right,
Worcester, something like those.
See if anybody gets it right. Worcester. I've heard it from several English people. It's Worcestershire. All right. Oh, this is like an English person asking. How are you guys pronouncing it? Our Worcestershire is better, by the way. It's like it's like how Shire, it's pronounced Shire here, but there it's Shire. All right. Places with Shire in the name. Oh yeah, like Yorkshire. But people here will say Yorkshire. All right. They'll say, "Oh, you're from Yorkshire? It's Yorkshire." All right. Or instead of Worcestershire, it's Worcestershire, it's Worcestershire. All right, in a similar fashion, even though it's not pronounced the same. Anyway, now I'm getting off on, linguistic trail. Anyway, so it's Sean, all right? Some people would say Sean, all right? But it's Sean, all right? Nike, often mispronounced as Nike, all right? But it's Nike, okay? So that's what happens, all right? Anyway, going off a long and dusty trail there. The name, all right, of the son is Yahushai. Okay, but if you don't use correct linguistics, all right, and it's not pronounced phonetically correct, you can end up with Yahushua or multiple other. I don't even remember that. And then other names aren't even important because they're not accurate. The correct name is Yahushai. All right, and the correct name of the Father is Yahweh. Anyway, starting off on that, but you can see. So anyway, people are going on the name Jesus. Jesus can be whatever color, it doesn't matter, all right? But Yahushai, all right, Yahushai is indeed a melanated man that would be referred to as a black man today. No one's really black at the end of the day. That's a demonized term that they've put on you, Jake, all right, because black means void of light, all right? And the son of the, you know, the living, you know, the Father, all right, is not void of light. All right, not void of light. And that's why they call themselves, you know, the Edomites call themselves white. Not all of them even look white, but they call themselves white because it means pure. It has to involve with purity. All right, Bible talks about make you white. All right, so it's not literally talking about skin color. White as a skin color hasn't been around but for a couple hundred years, right? So right here it says, this guy says, at least he made a black pair as well. All right, and you see it, and I mean, barely. All right, barely. All right, that would just be like a pretty tanned pair. You can see it fades up into some paleness up in here, right? And I guess they're calling it the foot, all right? And this Edomite here gets pissed off, and he said, you guys are so fucking deranged that you're obsessed over the skin tone of the feet instead of being upset with this blasphemy. If you want to argue here, he wasn't white or black. He was a Middle Eastern Jewish man. Okay, here's the thing. He wasn't white or black. He was a Middle Eastern Jewish man. Here's the thing. All right, the people that are, you got to understand history, all right, and geology. Okay, or geography. Okay, geology is for minerals and stones. Geography. Okay, if you have one people, okay, let me draw this out in crayon for you. Okay, was it not loading? Oh, it is now. Okay, if you have a land, okay, this is what you guys seemingly never understand, okay? If you have a land, okay, over here, and you have a land over here, all right, and you have a land over here, okay, these lands, all right, same thing, all right, you have this land, boom, this land, boom, and this land, oops. Okay, because sometimes you really have to, you like kids, so you got to really draw it out in crayon for you guys, or else you really won't get it, okay? So you have these lands, right? Now in this land, okay, this is the original land, okay? People 1, okay? So in this land, you have people 1, okay? These are original people, right? You can write that under. Okay. So you have this land 1, all right, where this is like, we're using Israel as an example, all right, and then, all right, all of a sudden, okay, people 2, okay, they come along. I'll just keep it uncapitalized like the other one. So now all of a sudden you have people 2 that come along, okay. All right. So second inhabitants. Okay. All right. They're not the original people. Okay. They're not the original people at all. And then finally, okay, you have people 3. Okay. We're using Israel. And I mean, there's more than this, but this is, you know, in general history, this is, my space bar has been giving me issues. Okay. So this paints an obvious issue here. Okay, that should be, it should be perceivable by most people. All right. that there. And put that there. So here's the issue. All right. Here it is. You have this original people. All right. In this case, it would be us, the Israelites. Okay, let me just add this. Okay. So you have this original people, the Israelites. Okay. Let me go and get another color. Okay. And then I'll do it here. Let me get text again. So, okay. So, Israelites. Okay. The real Israelites. I'll put the real Israelites. Okay. You have the real Israelites. All right. That's us, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. We're in this land. Okay. We'll also put, we'll come back to that. All right. And then Palestinians. All right. I think. Okay. So then you have the Palestinians that come along. And finally, you have the Israelis. Okay. Alright, or come on now. So, here's this whole little diagram. So they're doing too much. Well, some people aren't seeing how things can change. So obviously it has to be drawn out in a diagram. Okay? This is our land, all right? So-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, all right? We're called black, brown, Native American, whatever, but we're Israelites, okay? We're the original people, okay? Real Israelites, all right? Jews. Then, you know, the Romans and all the other issues, eventually, all right, the Palestinians get a hold of it, okay? And they're Arab Muslim, okay? Now, in about 1948, 1946, they really started to, you know, right, 1947, they started doing all the stuff to get there. It was declared as, you know, Israel as a state in 1948, okay, and that's when it became their land, all right, and who's their land? All right, the Jewish, all right, the Israelis, okay. Now here's the difference, all right, I'm going to choose another color now. Let's go with the gray, okay. Okay, here's the difference. Okay, brown skin. Okay, brown skin. Okay, really dark brown skin if you really want to get down to it. All right, we'll put it as that. So dark brown skin. Okay, Arabs, brown skin. All right, for the most part. They can be dark skinned as well, but they vary. They vary. Same with Jake. We vary as well, but then brown skin. And then finally, there we go. So here's the whole trail of really went down here. All right. So you had the original people. All right. They were the real Israelites. Jews, all right, and they were dark brown, okay? Conquering, other things went down, diaspora, really, or we can just write that over here, or we can do, we'll do it in this color. Okay. How do you spell it? The Nakba? Let me see. Nakba. All right, Nakba. I had it right. Okay. There you go. So this is really how really it came about. All right. And the other thing you could put into over here is also transfer agreement. Okay. So Israel's dwell in this land, the original people. The diaspora happens. All right. And if you don't know what the diaspora of the Israelites is, then that's a whole another topic for you. All right. Because that's when the Lord, angry with us, all right, for our wickedness, scattered us among all nations. All right. You can read about that in Deuteronomy and several other chapters as well. And then in that time, there's a lot of things that happened with the land of Israel. But one of the primary inhabitants, all right, that's viewed throughout history is the Palestinians. All right. So now the Palestinians have that land. Mind you, we were, the original people, Israelites. We were called Jews. All right. And dark brown skin, a.k.a. black. All right. At least, Southern Kingdom. And then you have the Palestinians. All right. They come along. All right. They're Arab. All right. They're Ishmael. All right, Ishmael. Okay, I should have put that into parentheses as well. Ishmael. Okay, brown skin. Okay, and if you look at Palestinian, we can go over there. Okay, some of them are quite brown. Okay, quite brown. Some of them, not so much. All right. But it just depends, okay? So, but if you look at these people here, right, and look at their skin color, they are very dark brown for the most part when you look into the crowds, all right? So if you just, keep this up, all right, then all of a sudden you have Israeli, which for the most part, they'll show some brown ones, but this is Israelis, all right? These are Israelis. For the most part, all right, you can go and look at them. They're white, all right, as they would call themselves. They're white people. Okay, you have some that are kind of tan, all right, but for the most part, they're so-called white people. All right, look at them. All right, so-called white people. There you go. So you have one people, all right, dark brown, and then they go to just brown. And now to white. So now when people look throughout history, now all that to go back, all right, you can go and look up what the Nakba is, by the way, how they got that land. The Nakba refers to the 1948 Palestine War, marking the displacement and dispossession of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from their homes, destruction of their society, and the ongoing denial of their right to return. All right, who did it? Who did it? Who did it? By Israel. Okay, by Israel. Okay, 1948. All right, what happened in 1948? All right, we can go and look at the transfer agreement. All right, see it right here. Transfer agreement. All right, the dramatic story between the pact between the Third Reich and Jewish Palestine. All right, it says 1933 Ha'avara agreement between representatives of the Jewish Agency, other Zionist economic bodies in Nazi Germany, which enabled some German Jews to immigrate to mandatory Palestine, wasn't called Israel yet, in that capacity, and recover parts of their assets through the export of German goods. There you go. But, they never worked together. All right. The Jewish people, never really worked together. And when this took place, that's what ended up eventually going into being the 1948, the Nakba. So you guys says, they're going back, awake 24 hours. Now you're asleep 24 hours. He said, you guys are so fucking deranged that you're obsessed over the skin tone of the feet instead of being upset with this blasphemy. If you want to argue here, he wasn't white or black. He was Middle Eastern Jewish man. Okay. So let's go. Get Revelation. All right, 1:14. Okay. So, first of all, let's go and ask, what is Revelation 1:14 describes a vision of Jesus, okay, with head and hair like white or snow, right? White like wool or snow, like a flame of fire at his eyes, and feet like bronze refined in a furnace. It doesn't say refined in a furnace, but I guess it does in a way. It says that burned in a furnace. So it's talking about burnt bronze, not necessarily refined, but it says emphasizing his purity, wisdom, and divine authority as he appears to John. They say it's not how he actually looks. They always try to say it's not how he actually looks. Did Jesus have skin like bronze? Okay. Many scholars, Revelation 1:14-15 offers a clue that Jesus' skin was a darker hue and that his hair was woolly in texture. Okay. Who has dark skin and woolly hair? Oh, why doesn't it want to answer on that one? Look, it's working. Boom, just says nope, I'm not doing it. All right, well, let's ask ChatGPT. Let's see. Who has dark skin and woolly hair? All right. Many people... If someone was described as having those traits, what race would they likely be? It's that easy. Nobody wants to... Someone having... Look, in everyday usage, if someone is described as having dark skin and tightly coiled afro texture hair, they don't like to say woolly, right? People would most likely assume the person is black or of African descent. There you go. Likely in social, black or African, all right? But they're going to try to say, it could be anybody. It could be South Asians. No, they don't have it. No. I've never seen a South... South Asian people. Where's the woolly hair? That ain't woolly. That ain't woolly. What the fuck are you talking about? See, ChatGPT just... They don't want to give you a straight answer, but they still did it anyway. Woolly hair. Huh. Would you look at that? Who is it? Jake. All right. Jake's got woolly hair. Okay. Jake is the one that has woolly hair. Okay. If you look at her hair. All right. You see it? All right. Which is the best looking hair, by the way. Wool. So look at her hair. Who has hair like that? You can't tell me it's no fucking southeast, northwest Asians. No, none of them. All right, it's Jake. All right, Jake and the Hamites. Okay, that's it. Those are the only ones, and both would be considered so-called black people. Okay, so-called black people. That's it. That's who's got the hair. Okay, you know, white people ain't got hair like this. When have you seen a white person with hair like this? Okay, woolly hair like a sheep. Never. You never have. All right, never have. And if you look at wool micro curls, when they, you know, do the treatment, if you look at the, they're showing these ones, but if you actually see the, this is Shetland curls. Tell me that this don't look like Jake hair, all right, when it's going through a wash, all right, when you're putting a treatment in, all right, and you're conditioning in. All right, that's exactly what Jake hair looks like. It's exactly what Jake hair looks like. But there's a photo even better that it was a close-up. It wasn't anything from a picture. It was actually a lady. Let me see. It was actually a lady that worked on she was a white lady, but she worked on a farm. Let me show you. Black hair. Wet. Oh, Afroic hair wet. Let me show you. There you go. So who is it? Who is it? It's Jake that has that hair. Okay, so let's go see how he looked. It already told you this is a depiction of who you would call Jesus. So Revelation 1:14, his head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. Let's go and look up Jesus real quick. We got to make sure we're talking about the same guy. All right. Here's Jesus as he's commonly depicted. You say, oh no, this is what he looked. No, that's not the image people use, and that's still not him either. This is the image people use. This is the image. 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 Okay? So let's go and see. Okay? His head and his hairs were white like wool. His hair's not white, and it's not woolly. As white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. Nope, his eyes are blue, or sometimes brown, all right? And his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. A lot of people say, as if it's burning in a furnace. It doesn't say burning, it says burned. Burned is past tense. Burned is past tense. It means it was already burned. All right? I'm not burning my food. I burnt my food. There's a difference between burning my food and burnt my food. Burning, it's burning currently. I should stop. I should go and grab it and pull it out because it's burning currently. Burnt, it was already burnt. Okay? It's already done. Already done in the past. Burned. Okay? So if you look up bronze, first of all, or brass, all right? Brass, if you look up brass, natural brass, okay? Okay, and you look at brass here, okay? And you look at these different colors of brass, okay? It comes in different shades, okay? You look at it, here's raw brass, okay? Now tell me, does that fit this skin tone? Not really, all right? Does it fit? Don't look at Yahushai. Grab this image, all right? You can grab any of them, all right? But I'll grab this one. Is it closer? It's closer, all right? It's close. No, this one's closer. It's not. But first of all, this is just raw brass, okay? We haven't got it to the fact of it being burnt yet, okay? And here's some other, ancient brass, okay? Ancient brass. So again, what color is it closer to? Okay, mind you, but we haven't even done. Here's burnt brass, all right? This is tarnished raw brass. So already, what color is it closer to? Okay, natural brass. Now let's look up burnt brass. Of course, certain scripture first gonna come up. Okay, burnt brass. This is what burnt brass looks like. Okay, that is look. You can look at spent brass from a firearm. Right? That's brass that's been burnt. Okay, what color is that? Is that white people's skin tone? No. Absolutely not. Okay. Look. So, I mean, you can go and even if you look at older pictures, all right, they were actually depicted as melanated individuals, but during the crusade they went and whitewashed everything. Okay? They went and whitewashed everything. Now they say in these photos, they say, oh, those were supposed to be white, but over time, the image of the paint, it darkened. Well, why didn't the Mona Lisa darken? Why didn't any of the depictions of white Jesus, why didn't those ones darken? Shouldn't those all be, dark now? But they're not. These ones are and those ones aren't. Why? Were they taken better care of? Why? For what? For what reason? Yeah, you can look up right here. That's burnt brass. What color is that? What color is that? There you go. But you don't get it. You say, oh, that's just soot. That's soot. Okay? What about this brother here that's holding this thing of bronze? Whose skin color is that like? Okay? What race has skin color like burnt brass? Medium to dark brown skin tone. There they go. South Asians, Middle Easterns. No. They don't. Some people of African. All right. See, they don't like to talk about it. All right. They don't like to talk about it. But it's pure. Once you look it up, it's simple who it's talking about. Okay. So that fits. All right. The red eyes as well. Okay. There you go. So. Who does this fit? Revelation 1:15, and his feet like unto fine brass as if they burn a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. Obviously, not talking about this guy. More close to a depiction right here. And this isn't literally what Yahushua looks like, but it's a depiction using the characteristics outlined in Revelation, 1 and 14 through 15 to show you, what he more than likely looked like, or also 13, all right? So, 13 through 15 to show you what he looked like. So, you're over here talking, he wasn't white or black. He was Middle Eastern Jewish man. Going back, what is a Middle Eastern man? What is a Middle Eastern man? Okay, because the Middle Easterns now, if I go look up Israeli, them, or is it the Palestinians, or what about the people in Turkey, or what about the Iranians? All right, because there's people in the Middle East that are very light skinned. There are people that are very dark. All right, But brass that is burned in a furnace gives off the color is very dark brown. Okay, so very dark brown. He wasn't white or black. So he was very dark brown and he had woolly hair, and you're saying that is not so-called black. Okay. What about that image about the Jews and the Hebrews in India? Okay. India, Benjamin of Teluda. Let's see. There you go. He mentioned that he ran into Hebrews, all right, in India. He said, description of the black Jews. He noted the inhabitants are all black and the Jews also. The Jews are black. Says they are good and benevolent. They know the law of Moses and the prophets, and to a small extent, the Talmud and Halakha. There you go. So, there you go. So, it shows you, you know, and I actually have the thing, I can actually send it over. Bear with me. One minute. Send it over to the computer. I should upload. Oh, I didn't hit upload. It should pop up just in a second. There we are. Here we go. All right, 16th century illustration of Hebrews in India. All right, first-hand account of the Hebrews in India by 11th century Hebrew traveler Benjamin of Teluda. Such are their superstitious practices, and throughout the island, including all the towns there, live several thousand Israelites. The inhabitants are all black, and the Jews also. The latter are good and benevolent. They know the law of Moses and the prophets, and to a small extent, the Talmud and Halakha. There you go. So, again, once you get into history, man, it really starts, you know, putting a damper on what all the things you have to say, right? So him getting all mad, and of course, then you have people say white dude feet, flip, because Jesus ain't even white. Hey, wait a minute, that ain't what Jesus' feet look like. So, you know, you see all these people talking about it. But yeah, so these are idol worship shoes. All right, idol worship is any worship of a, you know, a statue, a picture, a graven, a molten image, all right, an effigy, a wooden, anything like that is not Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Okay, instead, you're not worshiping Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. And mind you, we don't have the physical, actual, literal depiction of what they look like. We have their, we have the characteristics, all right, but we don't have the actual physical, an actual photograph of them. All right, we just know what they look like through the scriptures. All right, because earlier in another chapter in the Bible, it talks about, you know, the Ancient of Days sitting there. It describes him being depicted as well with white woolly hair, and you know, you're gonna have a similar hair texture usually as your father. All right, usually. Okay, and the same thing with the feet. You know, if your feet are one color, usually the rest of your body is going to be a similar color. You know, feet might be a 1 or 2 shades lighter. All right, usually, you know, they're because they don't see no sun. They're usually a shade or 2 lighter. So mind you, it said his feet were like unto brass is burned in a furnace. So if his feet were that color, all right, what's the colors of the rest of his body? If you're trying to, it's a bronze, is a lighter bronze or a medium bronze or whatever, how you want to say it, that means the rest of his body was darker. Okay, I don't know if you've ever seen Jake's feet, but Jake's feet are generally like a shade or 2 lighter than the rest of their body. Same thing with, you know, white folk, all right, because it's not seeing any sun. You constantly got socks on or shoes on or something, right? So, if anything, Yahweh Shai is darker, all right, than brass that's burned in a furnace, because that's just the color of his feet. And mind you, feet are usually what shade difference are feet usually from the rest of the body? slightly lighter shade. All right, usually same color or very similar, slightly lighter shade than the skin on your legs, thighs, or belly. And they may appear lighter to less sun exposure, thicker skin. Okay, so lighter. Okay, they're usually lighter. All right, or the exact same. Okay. If your feet turn darker than your skin, that's a warning of vein disease. So that's a, that's a different story. You don't want it to be darker than the rest of your body. They're usually same color or lighter. Okay, but everyone's arguing. But the fact of the matter is, it's idol worship. All right, it's idol worship, and it's disrespectful. All right, and it's disrespectful. Even if you wore these, that would just be some disrespectful shit to wear. All right, because you're making the Lord's suffering into a fashion statement. Okay. So, and that it's wicked, all right? So, and I mean, I don't know why you'd want to wear those anyway, okay? But what we're talking about today, we can get rid of all these. What we're talking about today is the fact that it's idol worship. Now, what is idol worship? Okay, what is idol worship? According to the Bible, it says idol worship or idolatry is the worship or excessive devotion. It's not excessive devotion, all right? I said devotation. It's not the excessive devotion. It's the devotion in general, all right? Whether little or a lot. It says that anything other than the one true power, all right? Well, devotion to, another God, really. It says involving creating and bowing down to physical images like the golden calf, or elevating worldly things like money, possessions, status, or even self into a godlike position. All right, yeah, if you treat money like a god, that's essentially you're worshiping it as an idol. It's fundamentally turning creation into a substitute for the creator. It's seen as a spiritual betrayal, a misdirection of the heart's trust, and severe offense against Yahweh, violating the 10 Commandments. There you go. So you're not supposed to do it. Okay, you're not supposed to do it. Exodus chapter 20, starting with 1, it says, "And Yahweh spake all these things, saying, I am the Lord thy power, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me." Why? Because he was the one that did all these things. They didn't do anything. Yahweh did all those things, right? It says, "Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generations of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments." And a lot of people try to say, "Oh, well, isn't that image of Yahweh? Isn't that idol worship?" Well, first of all, we don't worship that image. Okay, that's a depiction. Okay, that's not an idol. That's not something we worship. All right, when you see the depictions of Jesus, people have that in their house. They worship that. They bow down before candles and crosses and and all these different things. Okay, we don't worship that. It's the same thing if I had a like over on my little, if I could speak, bookshelf. There we go. So like over on my bookshelf, I have like a Fallout themed section. All right, I'll show you it. As a matter of fact, let me camera. It's gonna be hard to do actually. All right, here you go. See that section over there? It's got Escaril, All Victory. Also got some films. It's something like this. You could call it a shrine or whatever. These, little action figures, or however you want to call it, the little statuettes. Right? If that was something like Jesus, all right, then that would be idol worship. But they're not really idols, because an idol is something that you worship. Those are just statues, all right, or things like that. Now say if I started putting candles over there. Now if you look at a shrine, all right, they look like this. Now, if I started, setting up offerings and candles and everything over there, even if I had a candle over there, all right, just because I like the smell, it was pine scented, that still wouldn't be idol. But now I start adding incense and candles and all that stuff, and I have them lit, and I start, worshiping the Pit Boy or the Vault Boy, or that set of, what is it, T-51, I think, Nuka-Cola Power Armor as an idol, then yeah, that would be idol worship, all right? That would be a shrine or an altar to a false god, all right? But it's just some decoration, all right? That's just a decoration, okay? So, that's, again, you can't be too deep. You have to be one deep, okay? You can't be too deep. You got to be one deep, all right? Because you say, oh, the image of Yahushua that you put up, that's idol worship. We don't worship that image. We don't bow down to it, all right? That's not the image that comes into our mind when we're praying, all right? We just pray, okay? That's it. Deuteronomy 27:15, it says, cursed be the man that maketh any graven or molten image, an abomination unto the Lord. It's an abomination unto the Lord, all right? It's abomination is something that inspires hatred and disgust, right? It says, the work of the hands of the craftsmen, they put it in a secret place, and all the people shall answer and say amen. So we're not bowing down to it. We're not worshiping it, all right? We're not doing any of those things, all right? But you say, well, I'm not bowing down and worshiping those shoes. It's an idol, all right? It's turned into something look, it's the same way as if you took, the Vault Boy, all right? I'll go and pull up a picture. It's like if you took the Vault Boy. Now, the Vault Boy, I was like, that's the exact one I got. No, it's like the Vault Boy right now is just a thing from a game, right? It's just a thing from a game, all right, from Fallout. But if all of a sudden, all right, this became a mainstream world religion, all right, and they were worshiping Vault Boy, all right, and saying that it was God or whatever, I'd probably get rid of it because now, yeah, it's recognized as its only purpose is as an idol. It's the same thing with Jesus, when you see the depictions, that's only as an idol. And mind you, it's a false name, all right, with a false skin tone, with a false depiction, all right, with a false narrative as well, because yes, in the Bible, all right, Yahushua, the name that you're going to see is Jesus, all right? But outside of the Bible, all right, and like I said, we believe in Jesus as it is in the Bible, all right? For example, with all the things that Jesus, quote unquote, did, and, because that's the name is attributed, the works, all right, are of Yahushua, but they're being attributed to that name Jesus. So when you see Jesus in the Bible, it's referring to Yahushua, but outside of the Bible, Jesus is not like the Jesus that's in the Bible, all right, Yahushua. Jesus outside of the Bible loves everybody, homosexuals, all right, unlike the Bible where he does the work in the will of his Father, and his Father, all right, directly, all right, spoke against homosexuality, directly spoke against loving everybody. He said that Israel, okay, you of all the nations, you of all the families on the earth, you only have I known, excuse me if I could get my tongue working, you only have I known of all the families of the earth, all right, therefore I shall punish you for your iniquities. You only have I known, Amos 3:2. You can see who he's speaking it to by going up for verse 1. It says, hear this word that the Lord hath spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth, therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities. There you go. You're not going to whoop someone else's kids, okay? So, and the other, they get delivered to death and punishment, but we get spankings, all right, from the Lord, not like any other nation gets, all right? And that's for correction, all right? He doesn't do it for correction for the nations, all right? He's taking them out because of their wickedness. Okay, now Jake gets taken out, but we also get spanked as well, all right? So a spiritual ass whooping, all right? And you don't want to get them, all right? But most of us have gotten at least one, all right? So Psalms 96:5, it says, for all the gods, notice how they're small g's, it says, for all the gods of the nations are idols, but the Lord made the heavens. So you're over here, having, white Jesus shoes on your feet or black Jesus shoes on your feet. It don't matter. It's still representative of Jesus. All right. And it's off, man. It's going off. Okay. Isaiah 8:20, it says, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there's no light in them. And I wanted to get that for that guy, all right, because he's over here saying, he wasn't black or he wasn't, what would you say he was according to Revelation 1:14? All right? And you're probably, well, he was a darker toned, well, he was olive skinned. Olives come in two colors, all right? They come in green and they come in black. So which one was he? Which olive skin? All right? Stupid. All right? Stupid. Okay? Anyway, you know, you just don't get it. You can't get it. All right? And what skin color would he happen to be? All right, it was darker. It was dark, or he was darker Arab man. He was a darker Arab man. Sure. All right? He was an Arab man, all right? He was a Hebrew man, by the way. And the way that you view Hebrews today, all right, when you think Hebrew, you're going to think white skin, or you're going to go back to the Palestinians. But you're not looking at the original people, all right, who were so-called black looking, all right, in Israel and Jerusalem, all right, specifically. All right, you can go and look. Don't save. What part of Israel was Jerusalem in? There you go. Historically part of the ancient kingdom of Judah. So let's go and look up. Judah. All tribes of Israel. Oh, who's that? So-called Negroes. All right, if you go and look up Negro, well. There you go. So-called black people. And you can choose not to believe it, and that's fine. All right, we can't force you to believe anything, but that's all you need to know. But you don't think that because you don't know who the original people were. All right, you only go far as back as Palestine. All right, and half of you don't even go back to Palestine. Half of you just cut it off with the modern Israelis, and you don't realize who was in that land before them, and you don't realize who was in the land before the Palestinians. All right, so before the Israelis in Israel, it was the Palestinians. Who was before them, and before them, and so on. Going to be debated history. All right, here's a clear neutral. It's never belonged to only one people. Yes, it has. So prehistory, written records, all this stuff. Bronze Age, Canaanites, Semitic-seeking people. All right, ancestors of later groups, including Israelites and Phoenicians. All right, early Israelites, Israel. Okay. You can keep on going on. Hellenistic period, all right? That's Roman rule, okay? Or Hellenistic. Well, that's Hellenistic is Hellenistic. Does that mean, is that the referring to Greek? Yeah, Greek. All right, Greek. So Alexander the Great, you know, the Greek, and then the Roman period, then the Byzantine, all right, then Islam. All right, and that's, you know, that's really where most people stop, all right, is Islam, and they just view it from there. All right, and they go, see, you know, all these period, you know, all these different things. So brown skinned, medium to dark brown skin, all of the brown skin. Why are the Jews white now then? Probably won't want to answer it. And talk about the diaspora. No, that's not how it is. Alright, they're not the people. Alright, they're not the people. Alright. Anyway, if you look them up, they are most certainly white. They're not all white. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. But nice try. And that goes back to Isaiah 8 and 20. To the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, is because there's no light in them. And he wasn't speaking according to Revelation 14. Okay? And neither was ChatGPT just then. So, no light. All right? Lord's not dealing with them. So that's where we're going to close out. All right? Lord willing, it was edifying. Again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High. Yahweh, Shemi Hawashai, Shemakakwadash. Shalom to you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring. Keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Until next one, Lord willing. Shalom.